Hello, I'm Gavin Hoey, and in this video tutorial I'm going to show you how you can make this fractured or blown apart image using Photoshop. And you'll need two other things. The first thing is time, because this isn't a quick tutorial. It will take a little bit of time to put together. And the second thing is spatter paintbrushes. Now these are custom paintbrushes that you can download from all over the place on the internet. But the four brushes I'm going to use for this tutorial, I've put on Adobe Exchange for free. You can download them, there's a link on screen now, or click the clickable link in the video description. Install them and you're ready to go. Okay, now it doesn't start with this picture, it starts here with a basic white background picture, and I'm going to use the quick selection tool to select our subject. Now, you don't have to have a picture on a white background, although it looks very clean doing it this way. Any picture will work, because we're going to make a selection and cut her out, okay? And any background will work as a result. Now, once you've made your selection, Command or Control J just to duplicate that selection and promote it as its own layer. So there we can see I've made a rough and ready cutout, and it is rough and ready. Right, let's switch that layer off. We don't need it for now. We will come back to that. And I'll go up to Layer, choose New, and Layer. We'll make a brand new layer. Let's call it White. Whoops, let's spell white properly. Helps look at the keyboard. There we go. So we've made an empty layer, nothing on it at all, and as you can probably guess, we're going to put some white in. So we're going to use paintbrushes, and we're going to use these special spatter paintbrushes that I've made specifically for this tutorial. And there are four to choose from. I'm going to start with number one. Seems like a good place to begin. You'll see it's really, really big. Now, we don't want it that big, so I'm going to go to Window, choose Brush, and we'll bring up the Brush panel. And on the brush panel here I can choose a couple of things. First of all is size, which I'll take down to about 400 pixels, and spacing, which I'll take out to about 80 to 90%, so there's plenty of gaps between the brushes. Then I'm going to jump to Shape Dynamics. It's my favourite one, this one. Shape Dynamics, I'm going to put the size jitter to about 50%, the minimum diameter to about 50, the angle jitter to about 50. What great names. Roundness jitter, about 50. You get the feeling that everything's about 50. Yeah, you're pretty much bang on. That'll do nicely. And then I'm just going to paint white down the back of her head, and that down the back of her shoulders, and down the back of her back. And I'm just going to break up the back side of that image so that it isn't completely solid and has a nice kind of broken up look to it. And I kind of like brush number one for this because it does give that nice gently fractured look, but we'll come on to a couple of other brushes in a minute, because as I said, time is the winning formula here. But this just gets us as a starting point like that. Okay, so that looks pretty good, and let's just go and grab brush number three, I think, for this one, which again is quite big. So we'll jump back to the brush panel, and we'll do the same as we did before. We'll make it a lot smaller, about 400 pixels in my case. We'll take the spacing up, and that needs quite a bit of spacing, and we'll flick on Shape Dynamics. Now, Shape Dynamics should remember where the sliders were, so that's kind of handy. And we'll just put a bit on here. Now, this is a much more aggressive brush, so it works much faster and breaks the image up much more. Let's take quite a bit of a chunk out of her shoulder, I reckon, there, and maybe a large bit of her back, because these are the bits that are broken off and are going to be flying through the air, or at least they will be when we've done the next step. And we'll come around down onto her leg. I'm not going down as far as her feet, you'll notice, because I want a little bit of reality in the picture still in a few places. Okay, there we go. That looks pretty good. Okay, so broken up, that looks very nice indeed. We're getting along in the right direction. Now, remember that cutout we made right at the beginning? Well, we're going to go to that layer, Command or Control J to copy that layer once again, turn on the visibility, and then use a bit of free transform, Command or Control T for free transform, and we'll start to stretch it out. Okay, we're going to end up with this kind of odd looking sort of 80s pop video effect where you have multiple people at different sizes. Yeah, if you get that, you're in the right place. But there's still quite a large gap around here where her knees are bent. So I'm going to take this a stage further by going to Filter and Liquify. I love Liquify. It's a great fun filter because I can use the forward warp tool and just sort of warp it around. In fact, if you ever wanted a tutorial on how to make people look bigger, how to gain weight, then this would be a great tutorial for it. Don't think anybody really wants to gain weight. I think I'd personally rather lose it, but there we go. That looks okay. And whilst we're here, we'll kind of mush up the the picture a bit as well, because this is going to be, rather than a large person, it's going to be little bits of people of clothing flying through the air. So they're all going to be in slightly different positions. So we'll just kind of move things around and click OK. Now, that amount of distortion on a high resolution image like I'm using here is going to take a little bit of time to render. And there we go. So we now have a very large person and a very normal sized person. Let's hide the large person. Let's go up to layer, and we'll go to layer mask and then use a hide all layer mask. So that puts a black layer mask over the image, and we don't see the large person anymore because we're not going to see her all. We're only going to see bits flying off. And to do that, we need a paintbrush. And well, not just any old paintbrush. It's going to be our spatter brush again. So let's go find that. And well, we used 1 and 3 last time, so let's use brush number 2 this